everybody. Welcome to Real Horror. Tonight we are talking about Hannibal, Season 3, Episodes 11 and 12. And joining me for these streams, as always, is Vinny. Welcome.
Hello. We're almost at the end.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We've got tonight and then one episode left.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. It's like it has flown so fast.
Oh yeah, it has. It has. I thought that they wrapped up something on 12, but apparently they didn't. I thought they. My memory is just I'm remembering other things.
Yeah, when we get there, let me know what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have some thoughts on episode excuse me, 12 as well. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that. But Superfan Adam Strahan was already in tonight and says hail to the chat, and don't forget to slay that like button. And
Buddy.
thank you for that. And as always, I'm going to pin that message. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, these episodes were actually filled with a lot of stuff. So, yeah. Well, what did you think about episode 11?
They were good. They were both really good, but yeah, there were certain things that yeah, I don't know. They keep playing up, and I've noticed this on these last couple episodes. They keep hitting up on the homosexual stuff between Will and Hannibal. This it almost feels like what's her name? Bedelia is toying with him, but then at the same time, like it feels too forced. Like I could see why there were some issues here and there.
Yeah,
what they were doing story wise, because it's like no, like they are hammering too much this relationship between the two of them instead of telling the actual story, and I think that's why I as much as I do like the series, these last few episodes are kind of they're making a mess of it a little bit, not totally, but
yeah, I have to agree. I think that they're going a little too hard in the paint with this kind of homosexuality between Will and Hannibal, and to me it doesn't feel organic. It really does feel forced.
Yep, it absolutely does, because from what we've been seeing with these characters, and especially the growth that Will had anyway, and how he put all this kind of to bed, it feels like a weird lovers fanfic kind of thing going on now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. I absolutely agree. Like there was big in the supernatural fandom. There were two main same-sex ships. There was the weirdest and most creepiest one to me was Sam and Dean.
Yep. And then Dean and Castiel.
Dean and Castiel, like that absolutely made no sense. There was absolutely no, there wasn't even at least this show is writing it. That Supernatural didn't even write any of that into the show.
No.
So that was totally fan fiction. And yeah, so but
especially like a character like Dean, that he's always talking about like the women and stuff, and there were a number of episodes where he's banging broads and like looking at porn online and all that stuff. Like there were jokes, ongoing jokes that went along those lines, and it's like, oh yeah, he's gay. Like what? No, he's not.
Yeah,
and in this, you have Will, who he's married to a female who has a child. So it's like, what do you even? I don't even. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's not like it was something that was building. It's not like they're this kind of this relationship that they're going for in season 3 between Hannibal and Will is not something that they've been peppered in. And then now we're reaching the conclusion to where, okay, yeah, it's it's like full on now they're they're in love. It's not it
No.
wasn't like that.
Nope.
Like seasons 1 and 2 there was no inkling of that at all.
Nope.
Um
Because it was that whole thing of just the manipulation games that
yeah,
Hannibal's playing.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, and like yeah, like Will was yeah, he was just being manipulated by Hannibal
Yeah.
the entire time. And
But
no,
well, the thing that we saw on top of it, why I'm saying that, like, yeah, this weird angle that they're trying to push now and force down our throats, it makes zero sense because we saw Hannibal do the same exact thing to everyone that he treated,
yeah,
or the serial killers he came across. He played the same manipulation games.
yeah,
Although with Will, it was that he was having more fun because he was so close to the FBI stuff.
yeah.
So for them to be doing this is just retarded.
Yeah, this is definitely it's left field. It's like it's it's left field, just like Alana and Margot all of a sudden
Hmm.
being together was absolutely like, whoa, wait, how did that happen? Like,
Right.
at least with that, we knew Margot was a lesbian.
Hmm.
With Will and Hannibal,
Yeah.
nothing. There was
Right.
nothing about that.
And the other part of it too that made it kind of more okay for me. Don't know, it wasn't just because they're hot. It was the angle of Alana wanting to be part of that fortune,
Yep.
because the way that her character kind of shits the bed anyway, and she starts to kind of not so much evil but out for herself. It made sense, especially through everything she went through. So it's okay. She almost got killed by Hannibal and what's her face, Abigail.
Yep.
So at this point, and like she was lied to, betrayed, she screwed over Will, all that crap. Well, we kind of seen that she has the cracks of being a scummy person.
Mm-hmm.
So when she saw an opportunity to jump onto that and get some of that pig farm money, she
Mm-hmm.
was going for it.
Yep. Yep. Alana, and that's another thing. They wrote Alana to be opportunistic, where
Mm-hmm.
she was very like she was not that type of character in
No.
season 1
No.
at
She's a
all.
character that we have respect for, and then we completely lost all respect for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she sacrificed her values and the truth in order to be manipulated by the lie. And then when she found out it was a lie, instead of apologizing or coming around again, she stayed in this shitty new persona that we see.
Yep. Yeah, like she's doubling down on this kind of like soulless behavior.
Yep.
It's just not who Alana was. I don't really understand the writing direction in this season, like as far as the relationships between the characters and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, questionable to me. Like,
Yep.
I don't understand.
And for those who are listening, it's like Will is not. He's not like he's not on board what Bedelia is saying. He's not like going to act on anything. Like we're not getting any of that. But what
Yeah.
they keep implying in all these jokes towards them, and now that she's pushing it kind of on him, yeah, it seems very, very out of place and almost insulting to the viewer.
Well, yeah, and it's like I don't want to like spoil it, but they get to a point where he and where Will and Bedelia are talking, and it's like it's almost like she's like saying, I'm gonna spoil it if I say it, but it's like she's saying, well, you are that way, aren't you? Like it's like, like they're kind of almost like it's planting the idea in his head. It doesn't seem like it's this. It was never written in the show that underneath like this, all of this was this erotic love towards Hannibal, and or vice versa. It was very dysfunctional, their relationship, and Hannibal has always been very manipulative with Will, using Will. I mean, yes, he does show times where he seems to care about what's going on with Will,
Yeah.
but I think that's kind of like the psychopath spectrum, because no, I don't know if there's ever been a psychopath that's 100% psychopath 100% of the time.
Right.
Like, they are capable of having certain relationships, like,
Hmm.
caring about certain people to
Hmm.
a point.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we saw with Hannibal towards Will. And then with Will, I didn't get any kind of that relationship. I got more of like, he was just like under his tutelage per se.
Yeah. Pretty much, because it was that empathy that he has to understanding the criminal mind and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was intriguing to him. And
Yep.
then yes, he did have these moments where he cared about him, but because it's like your pet kind of thing, he was treating him like that. So it's
Yep.
like, oh wait, I'm not done experimenting on him and seeing how far he'll go. He doesn't know who I am, but I'm still able to kind of call the shots. I don't want to see him getting hurt yet. Because then
Mm-hmm.
what happens when he does get bored with them, or he feels he's being crossed? How many times has he now tried to kill him, or he was in those positions? You
Yep.
know, he nearly guts him to death, and then you have the other moment where he's literally sawing into his head to eat his brains.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
yeah. It's not a homoerotic thing or one of those relationships. It's not even close.
No.
So it's
No, not at all.
yeah.
And it's definitely not like, it's definitely not will to like a like will towards Hannibal. And I feel it, well, that is what they're trying to say with what Bedelia was trying to say, like, you know, saying that he that's really how he does feel about Hannibal.
Yep.
That's written, that's end stage written in. That is not, that doesn't follow Will's character at all.
Nope.
And I wonder if that's why we didn't get season 4. The writing direction in season 3.
That could have been one of the reasons. Well, it could have been. I think yeah. Why NBC or CBS, wherever the hell it was on, why they decided not to renew it. Um, I think there might have been a writer's strike too. But then like later on, like Netflix was going to, and the reason why they didn't is because of all the illegal downloads from mainly
Yeah,
from Europe.
true.
So yeah,
That
there
is
was a
true.
couple. Yeah, there was a couple things working against it, but at the same time, then like if they were going in that direction, then what would they have done if they had done season 4? Because then at that point, you would have to bring in Clarice. You'd have to go in a totally new direction.
Yeah.
Because what do you call it? Red Dragon is now finished on episode 13. I mean, it's going to be it.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know. I real like, yeah, it's bizarre to me.
And they already did the pig farm stuff. They did the Italy stuff, Europe, all of that.
Yeah.
So the only other thing you do is the Silence of the Lambs stuff that you
Yeah.
haven't touched yet.
Yeah, that's where we'd have to go.
Hmm.
And Manliness says season 4 would have elephants.
Yeah, maybe they would be gay elephants.
Oh man. See, like, it's not even like, it's not even the homosexuality itself that bothers me.
Hmm.
It's the fact that it's absolutely out of left field and doesn't fit in with what
Hmm.
we've seen from the characters
Yep.
up to this point. It would be a whole different ball game if it was like I said, peppered in and kind of like, oh, I wonder about Will. I wonder, is this kind of getting into, are they going to be getting into kind of this relationship territory?
Yeah.
There was absolutely none of that.
Exactly. Because even if they were going to change the source, because we already seen them change characters before, then
Yeah.
Molly wouldn't have been Molly. It would have been Big Mike.
Oh my God. Okay. So, all right. So let's get into season 11.
I'm right.
Yeah.
What Brian Fuller was doing, if that's the direction he started going in. But
Yeah.
they didn't, because that's not the character.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. All right. Episode 11. So we start off in Jack's office at the FBI, and it's Alana, Jack, and Will in there, and they're discussing what Dollarhide did with the painting and all of that, and they discuss how that person that escorted him to that viewing room, how he didn't kill her, and Alana wonders if maybe he's trying to like stop himself, and Jack wonders if he could be maybe persuaded to suicide, and because he's like, that would suit me just fine, and it does, this kind of like takes Alana by surprise. But Will Jackson says, if he stops doing what he's doing, it won't be by suicide. So, yeah, he'll have to be violently stopped. And, and he also wonders, he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Hannibal has treated him in the past. And I thought that was an interesting line. So I wonder if there's any follow up with that.
Well, I think it's interesting too that the fact that we know as an audience that he's currently treating him. So that's what I found to be pretty interesting. They said that, but we know that he hadn't treated him, because when he first talks to him, like we saw when he first talked to him on the phone. So but that he's currently doing it, and in the manner that he's doing it, we're being shown as if he is in his office.
Yep. Yeah, well, he actually does go to Hannibal's office to use that phone line every time he calls Hannibal.
Yep.
And this was a very interesting segment. So we see it's Hannibal's old office. Dollarhide's in there, and it looks like Dollarhide and Hannibal are in session.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dollarhide's talking to him about how I felt living, breathing woman, like I put my hand over her heart, and you can see that this like what happened had a profound effect on him. Mm-hmm. He's like he couldn't believe that he felt the way he did about a person.
Yeah.
And Hannibal, like I like how they do this, because each time they have Hannibal talking to him, they kind of have him leaning over into Dollarhide's ear.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of reminded me of like the devil on your shoulder trope.
Yep.
I really like that. I do love the art direction in this movie.
The way that they did it was really good. And
mm-hmm.
I think this episode does kind of hammer the point that what we sort of speculated on about how we're viewing his accommodations right now.
Yeah.
That it is all in his mind.
Yeah, and it could be, and this was interesting because this whole segment, I was wondering if they were both imagining being in Hannibal's old office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we didn't see really whose point of view we were seeing this from. We just saw them both.
Yep.
Yeah, so I love the art direction in this show. It's magnificent.
It's brilliant. That stuff is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it makes more sense to the whole thing of his mind castle there. Because there's even a part where like he's talking with the characters, and he's like looking up or reaching his arm out to the ceiling, and it looks like the dome inside of a church or something.
Yeah.
And we know that definitely is not his cell.
Yeah.
That's his mind. That's what he's viewing.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, and then and during this conversation, because Dollarhide's kind of like having is kind of questioning, like, does he really want to become the Great Red Dragon? Like, he is contemplating like not doing this because he now feels the love of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for the first time ever in his life, the way that has reacted towards it.
Yeah.
To all that,
which would make sense too, and go with the theory that Hannibal had as well, that he's a shy boy, he's afraid of everything. His disfigurement is kind of one of the main reasons or catalysts of why he's doing what he's doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
how grotesque he sees himself, and especially when Reba breaks it down for him when in the other episode when they go, the co-workers talk about him and like, what did they say? Oh no, that he is a handsome guy, but yeah, he does have a hair lip, but I think he's self-conscious about that. But he keeps to himself, but he seems very clean and present, and like they were all positive things. Nothing was negative. Nothing was to call him a monster or anything like that. And
No, they actually, yeah, they said he was handsome and didn't need to be self-conscious.
yeah,
So yeah, like whatever, it's gotta be his mother. Saying that or making him feel ugly and
hmm
that he had to hide himself and whatever. Because he does seem to have a problem with well, we know definitely he has a problem with his looks, but
hmm
he also seems to not know love from females.
right.
Yeah, so it does kind of point to the mother aspect.
Yep. Especially
Um
even like he's already made love to her and all that stuff, and then yet
mhm.
he still doesn't want her touching his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he seems okay and comfortable, like putting his head in her lap or resting on her, kind of thing that we've seen a few
Yep.
times. So that's what I find to be interesting too, how they kind of tackle that.
Yeah, like he's kind of slowly, very slowly, like letting his guard down around her.
Yep.
And the fact that she's blind is, you know, I don't think this wouldn't have happened if she, were able to see.
Right. Because he wouldn't have allowed it. He allowed it because he was able to kind of watch her and see her reactions towards him and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually fascinating.
hmm
Um,
That's what I mean. There are a lot of brilliant psychological things that they kind of approach on the series.
oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the writing in this show is absolutely awesome.
hmm
The direction that they're going with uh Will and Hannibal, that whole entanglement is questionable. It doesn't seem organic to me. That's my major problem with it.
Yep.
Um
Yeah.
but yeah, like all the other writing is phenomenal. Like all
Yeah.
the stuff that they talk about, they reference so much of the Bible and like
hmm
how like basically Dollarhide and the Great Red Dragon. This is all the Book of Revelations, and so this is like
hmm
and everything like that with Blake, Blake's poems and the
Oh yeah.
painting. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Because yeah. With William Blake, he was a poet, an artist, everything, a philosopher, and they said his views were kind of extreme back in the day, but in modern society, like people would be like, yeah, this guy was a genius on many levels because it wasn't like he wasn't any like devil worshiper or nothing like that. It's
no,
this character is viewing these things that way.
yeah,
He's yeah, because he's connected to this thing, this entity that he believes is taking over him.
mm-hmm,
You know.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it is
He's
interesting.
yeah, it's
Maleness.
yeah, manliness. Um,
Oh shit, sorry.
and then yeah, this segment wraps up with Hannibal saying that you don't have to the give Reba to the beast. You can choose someone else. And he Dollarhide says, well, Will Graham interests me. And yeah, so Hannibal, like, he promotes that and says he ends up at the last thing he says in this segment, we see him in his cell and he says, save yourself and kill them all.
Yeah,
um yeah, so that was like, whoa. So
yeah.
yeah.
See, and that's the other thing too. This is another attempt at Hannibal to take out Will. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like the weird gay angle. Just you could see what's forced and what they just wanted to put in. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know like the stuff with the Red Dragon is so great because they actually follow the book in a very close way.
Mm.
I think
Yep.
that's where a lot of the brilliance on that writing comes through. But it's also the portrayal of the characters from these actors, and the extra little flair that they're putting onto this. to make them even more believable. Because again, we've seen this story play out, but yet they're kind of doing their own thing at the same time. So I think they have to approach it in a different manner in order to keep it interesting and not just be like, oh, you're just mimicking Ray Fiennes or Anthony Hopkins and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Because they're not. It's still its own kind of unique story, but it's just like it's using those characters, and the stuff with the serial killer stuff is very accurate to the books. So
That's cool. I never read the books, and so yeah, that's cool to hear.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like you could tell that the team cared about what they were doing, what they were
Mm-hmm.
getting involved in. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. All right, and then this is a cool little scene that they put in. Full moon, and we see Dollahide, and we see his dragon wings and his tail come out. That was an awesome scene.
Oh yeah, it was.
And then next we see Dollahide and Reba. They're having a drink at his home, and it's at night. And usually he has her go home at night, but she's like she'd like to stay and stuff. And he said he has a film to review. And she's like, okay, well, I'll just relax on the couch, and she's like kind of like laying in his, like, kind of cozying up to him as he watches his film, and we find out that this projector is of Will's family, Molly and Walter.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's stalking them, and and then we are at Will's house now, and Molly's out on the porch, and Walter comes up and tells her, something wrong with the dogs. So they end up at the vet, and the vet's like, what if you fed them? And she's like, well, usually, my husband makes their food, but he's away, so I've been giving them canned food. And the vet says, she's like, is that bad? And the vet says, well, if it's from China, dogs have been, getting poisoned by Chinese food for a long time.
Yep. Much like us.
And yeah, and she's like, no, dogs will be okay, because Molly's like, are they gonna be okay? And she's like, they'll be okay. She gave them activated charcoal and everything, and she asked for a sample of the food, and they're gonna keep the dogs overnight. And as her and Walter are leaving, Walter asks like about telling Dad about it, and she's like, how I said like lying, is not a good thing and stuff. She's like, I think we're just gonna keep this from Dad just for now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as they're leaving, on like a bulletin on the wall is a notice of pet mutilations in the area.
To notify them. It was the FBI, like a printout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they talked about doing that in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Will is visiting Hannibal, and he's holding his hand up into the moonlight. He's got like this moonlight window in his cell.
Yeah.
So he's playing with the moonbeams, and then and he says, Will says, I was your fool again. And Hannibal asks, have you found the great red dragon? And Will says, he contacted you. And Hannibal says, how do you imagine he's contacted me? Toilet paper, taking out personal ads in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is funny because this is actually, well, you've read it, so you know that this is indeed how they communicate in the novel.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe they did it in the other two movies as well. Through the personal ads. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. I like how they reference that, and then Will asks, he wants to know how Dollhead is choosing the families, and Hannibal is flipping, and he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe social media, and he's kind of being like a tool, and Will says, you know who's next, and you're willing to let them die. And Hannibal says, they're not my family, and I'm not letting them die. You are.
Yeah, he just came out and said it.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
because at the same time too, Will would have seen some of that. That's what I mean. Like they start to slip in the writing.
mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Because like, wait a minute, and at that moment too, like Will would be on the phone immediately
Mm-hmm.
to Molly.
Yep, absolutely, getting her to safety. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he would have in season 1. He would have known to get them to safety.
Yep.
Um, and
Yeah,
yeah,
because the character he's very paranoid
yeah, and
because he could see into the mind of all these people and how they're going to behave and what they're going to do next. And at this point, he was already making connections with Dollarhide, so he
yep,
would have seen this coming.
yeah, and like at this point also, he knows exactly who Hannibal is and how he operates.
Yep.
So he picks up these little subtle hints from Hannibal,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of written in the last couple episodes so far to be kind of like a newbie at this.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
again is out of character because we've already saw it and they established he was able to see the stuff like Dollarhide does.
Mm-hmm.
And even in this episode, he starts to see like images of his loved ones in a similar fashion of how Dollarhide was leaving his victims.
Yep.
So if he has that kind of connection, why would he be making these newbie mistakes?
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange. Yeah. Very strange.
It's a 5-year difference, not a 50-year difference.
Yep. Yeah.
He's not senile.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange to me, and
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. So the next thing we see is well, we know that Dollarhide is after Will's family because he's been staking them out and everything, and so next thing we see is Dollarhide breaking into Will and Molly's house. It's at night, obviously, and she hears that someone is there, so she like quietly gets to Walter's room and like wakes him up, and she's like shushing him. She's like, don't talk, you know what I mean? And she gets him to a window and tells him, go out by the car, and if you see anybody come out other than me, run to the road.
Yep.
And
Tell him to count to 100.
yeah, that's right too. Yeah. And so we see Dollarhide, like he is going through the house, and he stops at one room, no kid there, goes to the other room, no Molly, and he's like, what the heck? So he starts going through the house like in a more fast-paced way.
Yeah.
And he makes it out to the like porch area, and we see the camera slowly pans down, and we see Molly hiding underneath the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And she has like if she looked to her left, she has line of sight to where her son is by the car, and so they're being quiet, but Dollarhide gets kind of alerted that something is near the car, so he shoots at it, and the car, the alarm. No, I'm sorry.
No. Well, he's walking towards it. He's
Yeah, he
walking
goes.
towards it, and
Yeah.
Molly sees, so she grabs like something from underneath the patio area, either a rock or some kind of broken glass or something, and she throws it in the other direction.
Yes.
So he goes to the opposite side of the porch, and then and then she like calls over Walter, and Walter runs to her underneath there.
Yes.
And then Dollarhide's coming back, and she hits the car alarm. So then he runs like towards it, and then he starts to unload his gun.
Yes.
As they slip out from like the area where she went to throw the rock or debris or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was brilliantly done. Like,
Yeah. It was good suspense.
Yeah, very very well done. Good, like that was awesome. It wasn't like in a lot of horror movies, like they would have made a ton of mistakes.
Oh yeah.
This was well done. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, because it would have been like a black family. You'd be like, "Yo, Thomas, come get over here. The killer's gonna get you," and he would have
Yeah,
just shot down.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, so the car, yeah, he's shooting at the car. They book it, and they make it to the road, and Dollarhide's like chasing after them, and they make it to the road, and uh
The car
Molly
almost
gets,
hits them. Yeah, Molly stops the car.
yeah, yeah, and like I thought that was gonna make the car roll over and be like, oh no, this is it for them.
Yeah,
But no, she's able to she gets Walter in the back seat, and then she goes around to the driver's side where the driver is getting out, and is kind of is like, what the heck? And all of, like, Molly was standing in front of, so she's like in front of the driver, and then it's the driver facing her, and then Dollarhide like
yeah. As she's explaining what that, trying to be like, we got to get in the car.
yeah,
We got to get out of here. You
yeah,
just see his head explode all over her.
yeah, and she's like, she screams, but she gets in the car, like she totally keeps together the whole time.
Yeah,
She gets in the car, starts just absolutely flooring it, and Dollhide's, taking shots at the car, and gets her a couple times. We see the
yeah,
blood spatter on the dashboard,
yeah.
but
He
that's
hits a
all we
piece of
see at
it.
that point.
Yep. And yeah, but yeah, she's able to keep driving. So then we
Yes,
see Dollarhide, and he's just furious.
he's,
He's just yelling into the sky.
yeah, screaming, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
that was really good.
And yeah, so we didn't know for a minute what the heck was going to happen to them, or who was going to make it or what. But next we're at the hospital, and we see Jack sitting with Walter in the waiting room, and Will comes in, and like Walter's asking about his mom and everything, um and I can't remember who it was, but they said mom's in surgery. So at that point, we know that she's going to be okay.
Hmm.
And and oh, and then this is interesting. So Walter asks, "Are you going to kill this guy?" And Will says, "No, I'm going to catch him, and they're going to put him in a mental hospital, keep him from hurting anyone else."
Hmm.
And then he like Walter is sitting there, and he says, my friend showed me a newspaper article that said you killed somebody and you were put in a mental hospital. And Will is kind of like crapping his pants at that, and he says, did it bother you to see that? And Walter didn't answer like, yeah, it bothered me or anything, but he said, you should put him in a mental hospital, you should kill him.
Hmm.
And that was kind of, I was like, wow, is he saying a couple things here? I don't know. It was interesting that Walter said that, and then
Yeah,
he
because
walks.
even Walter, even a kid knows, like, yeah, this guy, he can't just be arrested. He's not. He's too dangerous. He
Yeah,
almost killed him and the mother. He tried to go after Will. Like, there's a lot going on there, and he's like, "What are you, stupid? You gotta off this guy."
and I wonder if he was kind of thinking about like Will as well. Like Will killed somebody and ended up in a mental hospital.
Hmm.
Like there's so many ways to interpret this. Like, is he saying that, well, Will's not bad, so maybe a mental hospital is for people that aren't really bad, but
Hmm.
this guy,
This guy's
is
really
very
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hmm.
It's really interesting, and
Yeah.
but he's like, I'm gonna go watch baseball, so he kind of walks off and goes to
Yeah.
another seat,
Yeah, because the
and
kid, he's aware of the situation. He was
mhm,
firsthand, almost got killed as well. So he sees the difference between this nut job and Will. So it's like, yeah, there's no
mhm,
saving him. Like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Yeah. And then Will goes into the hall to talk to Jack, and he's telling him how Walter read about him in a Freddie Lowndes article, um and he says, "You do you think you can just lose me after this, Jack? Like can I just be done with all this?"
Hmm.
And Jack is like, "Well, before this I thought that was a possibility, but now, you know it's not. And Will's like, yeah, until you realize that what I realized, which is that I can't go home, and neither can Molly and Walter, not until the red dragon is out of the way.
Yep.
So, you know, he's gonna like carry this guilt because that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Will go into Molly's room, and she's, you know, hooked up to the monitors and everything, and she's all bandaged and everything. And but the good news is that she made it, and so that was that. And then next we see Alana talking to Hannibal, and you know, she's like, "You have a phone call," and he's asked if he can take this, you know, privately, and she's like, absolutely not. And no, I'm sorry, that isn't where that was said. I'm sorry. At this point, she says, it's your lawyer, and he asks what he's calling about, and she says, I called him to confirm that he hasn't spoken to you since you've been declared insane. And she says, you've been talking to the Tooth Fairy.
Mm-hmm.
And Hannibal says, he's the great red dragon. You know, that's what he wants to be.
Yeah.
That's his chosen name. So like, he's kind of like at least give him the respect that he
Mm-hmm.
of like you know, calling him what he wants to be called.
Right.
Which that I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And then Alana says, you got what you wanted. You're relevant. And we see that Jack is there, and they're like, now you have a chance to stay relevant. And so they're putting a tap on the line. It's a standing order. And whenever the Tooth Fairy calls Dollarhide, you need to keep him on the line. So Hannibal accepts those terms. And next we have Dollarhide in his attic where he worships this Blake painting, and he's doing a handstand, and then he falls over and he starts to kind of like have
Beat himself.
Yeah, he's beating the hell out of himself, but it like and I like how they do this a couple of times. They show it as if the dragon is beating him up.
Yep.
And
how he's being like held up with one hand, and then we see it's they did it like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
When he's choking himself in the mirror, and like his hands back, and it's his own hands doing it.
Yep. Very exactly like that.
Very Sam Raimi-esque, but it works. The scene's good. Yeah. Then we get those glimpses of like you see like the tail and all that, and the wings, and as if he's just being thrown around, and he literally he does Bruce Campbell. He starts to punch himself in the face.
Yeah.
Until he knocks himself out. I was waiting for the flip.
It was absolutely an Evil Dead 2 homage right there.
Oh yeah.
It's I loved it, but yeah, so that was interesting. And then we see him in the dark room, you know, at where they work, where him and Reba work. And so he comes in, and we see like his face all beaten up and stuff. And interesting, like there's a spot where they show like his dragon wings come out, and I really like when they show that. Kind of like this duality of him just being himself, and then there are times where he is the beast.
Yeah.
I do really like that. And then so he's just sitting there in the dark like that, and then Reba walks in, and she kind of pauses so she can sense that he's there, and she asks, you know, she's like, Dee, you here? And he's just sitting there, he's just sitting and watching her and not answering her. Then finally he answers her, and she's like, what are you doing here in the dark? And he's like, how do you know it's dark? Like, what is he questioning her blindness? And she's like,
I was thinking that too when I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, does he think that she's been faking her blindness?
Yeah, or is he just being a dick?
Yeah, like, I don't know, but he's like, well, how do you know it's dark? And she's like, because it's dark, like there's no light in here. Like that's okay. So they're not. She's not just being sarcastic. She's actually not being sarcastic. The specific room that they're in, that's the highly sensitive infrared film room.
Mm-hmm.
There is no light in that room.
Yeah, it's meant to be a dark room. That's
Yes.
all. So
Yeah.
yeah, and since she's blind, she didn't have to worry about that stuff. But
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, and if he walked in, he could definitely, like, if he put his hand by where the light switch is, he knows that it's down. So
I would be surprised if there's even an overhead light unless fire code or health
yeah, I'm
code.
pretty sure there is like one of those. There's like some kind of built-in thing, but it didn't necessarily have to be overhead.
Yeah. Like for safety, like if someone's got to do work in there, they're gonna need a light. So yeah, there's gotta be a light in there. So
yeah, especially there's some kind of hazard or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they do have it in there too, in that in those dark rooms they have like the sink with the emergency like eye fountain things.
Oh, true. Yeah, I forgot about those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
with people dealing with harsh chemicals.
Yep, that's true. Yep, I forgot about that. And
always the detective.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so she's like because there's no light, and he asks if she misses the light, and she's like, well, I know I'll never have it back, but there are things that I can have.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking in the dragon voice, and she's like, you sound strange.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, like, you can see him kind of struggling with himself, like this internal struggle he's having.
Yep.
And he says, I can't be with you. You threaten me, but at the same time you don't threaten me.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes up to him and says, it's okay. And she thinks it's because of her blindness, and he goes up to her and he kind of like assures her like, no, it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's afraid he'll hurt her.
Right.
And she goes, she's like, brokenhearted, and she says, it was nice to be with someone who had the courage to stay and the courage to get his hat when it was the time, and to let me do the same. And she says, get your hat, Francis, get it and go. And she sits in his chair. She sits in her chair and starts to cry. And that was very sad. And then he leaves, and as he's walking out, he looks back and he kind of lets out a low growl.
Mm-hmm. And she's like staring at him.
Yeah, and crying, and
yeah. Because she's like she's facing towards his direction, but it's almost as if like, yeah, I see that you're a piece of shit. And it's he didn't say it's because of the blindness. He said because she's black. And then she said, wait, I'm black. What? No, I'm kidding.
Knock it off.
I'm kidding.
All right. And then
I'm kidding.
Next we see,
because in the book and in the movie she's white. That was the joke, but never mind.
Yeah. Well, she's an awesome actress, and
oh no, she's great. She's great. I complimented the hell out of her in the other episode.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. She's
I
awesome.
was just pulling a Chappelle when he was the world's biggest racist. And
yeah.
He goes, but you're black. I'm what?
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, it was a whole bit. He was like part of the KKK and everything, and they're all cheering, and then he takes off his hood, and they're all in shock, and he's like, "What the hell happened?" Because he's blind.
Oh my god!
And he's a black guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, that's just for watching. You'll laugh your ass off.
All right, and so the next thing we see is one of the orderlies brings Hannibal the phone, and Hannibal Dollarhide is afraid that if he's not stronger than the dragon, that he'll hurt Reba. And Hannibal tells him, don't be afraid. You are the great red dragon, all this. And he's like gassing him up. And as he's talking to him, Alana and Jack are listening.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love Lawrence Fishburne in this scene. Mm-hmm. He's like on the edge of his seat, like on every word that's coming out. Alana
Yeah.
seems a little confused at points and disgusted, and he's
Yeah.
just like intently like listening and watching everything.
Yep.
Oh, I loved it. I don't know. He didn't even say a word. That's how good of an actor he is. You just
Yeah.
felt everything that was happening in the scene, and then the arrogance of Hannibal, because at the end of what he says,
Yeah.
well, I don't know if you wanted to say more before we get to it.
Well, there's a certain point where it's just Hannibal and Jack talking, and I absolutely love the conversation that they have.
Yep.
I think that's, let me see. That's the next episode. So yeah, we're almost there, but all right. So yeah, and then yeah, so Hannibal and Dollarhide are talking, and then he starts kind of like, Dollarhide is like pounding on his chest and stuff, and he says, "I didn't hear Reba's heart," and then as he says Reba, Hannibal says, "They're listening," and hangs up, and because
Yeah.
Hannibal knew that was a giveaway, like
Yep.
yeah,
But
and then
he almost regretted that he let Dollarhide speak that much, because he wasn't expecting to.
yeah,
He would say her name.
yeah.
But as soon as he did, it's like, okay, we got to end this. Oh, they're listening. Bye.
Yeah, that was a big faux pas.
Mm-hmm.
And then so yeah, so so he says that, he hangs up, and then we see Dollarhide clearing out of everything he had in Hannibal's office. He's clearing all that out, and at the same time, like, it kind of fades to where we see the FBI, all the forensics team on the scene collecting as much evidence as they can from it. Yeah, so they got right on that.
Mm-hmm.
And and then at Hannibal's, like a little while after that, in Hannibal's office, Zeller is explaining to Jack how Dollarhide used the call spoofing, to make it look like it was coming from his lawyer's office and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then next we see Hannibal in the, like, classic. Hannibal is on this, like, that stand-up trolley thing that they put him on.
Uh-huh.
And he's got his face guard on, and his cell is being emptied of everything. And Alana is there, and she says, "You're not the only one who keeps their promises."
Yeah.
And the team is clearing everything out, and she says, "The toilet too."
Mm-hmm.
She said she'd take his dignity.
Yep. And she did say that, and even the toilet.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's what he deserved. Piece of shit.
And let's see. And next we have so we're at the hospital, and Will is visiting Molly and talking about what happened and everything, and she's feeling guilty because she's like, I wanted you to do this and everything, and so she's blaming Jack, and Will's like, I knew what I was doing as well. It's not just Jack. I knew what I was doing, and he apologizes to her and says, and she says, it's hard to hold on to anything good, and that right there had me wondering about their future.
Mm-hmm.
So then Will pays a visit to Hannibal, and we see that the cell is empty of, like, everything.
Yeah.
And tells him, like, I'm so sick of you crazy bastards, and asks Hannibal what he said to Dollarhide, and Hannibal tells him that, I gave him your home address and told Dollarhide to kill them all. And he says, "How's your wife, Will?" And Will says she's lucky, and Hannibal says she survived the Great Red Dragon. I think that takes a little bit more than luck, and
it's more than a sprinkling of luck.
yeah, and he goes, "What do you see when you look at her now?" And Will's like, "You know what I see."
Mm-hmm.
And Hannibal says, "This great red dragon probably thinks you're just as much of a monster as he is." And Will is like, "Is this some kind of competition?"
Mm-hmm.
And Hannibal quotes a verse from Faust and says, it's about two souls struggling, and says the great red dragon is freedom to him. And he talks about Dollarhide's like change, how his change to the dragon. And Will says he didn't murder those no, it wasn't Will that says it. Oh yeah, it is. Will says he didn't murder those families, he changed them, like saying that Hannibal's
Mm-hmm.
according to Hannibal, he
Yeah.
didn't Dollhide doesn't consider himself to have murdered them. He just merely changed them. And Hannibal says, "Don't you crave change, Will?" And that's where the episode ends.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because he
yeah,
sees them. That's why he puts those glass pieces over the eyes and all that too.
yep,
Because they're completely transformed. How they view him, how they view everything, and what
yeah,
their mutilated bodies look like.
yep,
It's a whole transformation.
yep, yep, absolutely. And there's so much happens in episode 12.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we open with a
Yeah,
visual.
12 is like all from the movie. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
It
there's so much going on. I told you, but they changed a specific character, the outcome of them, and they replaced it with another character.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Hmm. But I mean, how they did it still made sense to me, so I didn't mind that much.
Yeah. Okay, so we open with a visual of the dragon standing with like we're looking at the back of the dragon, and the and he's standing over Molly's dead body, and she has shards of mirror on her eyes and on her mouth, just like that's the way he kills.
Hmm.
Dollarhide does his killings. And Will, like, then we see Will talking to Bedelia about what he sees when he sees his wife, and he says he sees himself killing her, like his empathy thing where he puts himself in the killer's shoes,
Yep.
so he sees himself killing her. So yeah, this is yeah. And he says that Hannibal's taken his family from him. And okay, so he asks if Hannibal's in love with him, and she says that he may feel drawn to him and is pleased to like see him when he comes around.
Hmm.
And she asks if he feels that way for him, and that's it. That, like, there's no answer. That, like, that's how the interaction ends.
Hmm.
And that's where I was talking about how there's kind of like this planting of this
Yeah, that she's
thing.
implying this nonsense too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much that she's trying to manipulate him. It's more like, again, it feels like it's the writer and his, his shitty lifestyle that he's trying to push on others. Or it feels like you said, agenda pushed. It doesn't feel natural to a story on any level.
Yeah, so yeah, it comes across that it's kind of like Bedelia is leading him to this,
Hmm.
um the way that's written.
Yeah, but
That
it's not just it's Freddie Lowndes. It's I think another character too might have made reference along those lines. Like,
yeah,
they're trying too hard with this shit,
yeah, yeah,
and they
very much pushing.
yeah, and it's hurting the story itself because that's not what it's about. It's not what any of that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, if you just break it down, you take everything else out of it. Will it only did this not to get back together with Hannibal. He did this because he wanted to make sure that this killer wasn't going to take out any other families. That's one. Two, when you look at the Hannibal side of it, he is very pissed that he's in jail and he blames all these people and he wants to see them gone. That's why he gave the address to Will, to the Tooth Fairy, to the Red Dragon, and he said kill them all. Like, yeah, and if that worked, I'm sure he was going to send what do you call it, the dragon, to probably off the others as well.
Yep.
You know, because he's going with the one of the main reasons why he's even there. You know, so.
Yep.
Like I said, if you take out all the other shit and we get down to the basics, like, all right, that's where we're at in the story. So whatever other nonsense that they're trying to do now is just, it's like I said, insulting to the viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's very out of it's just it's not congruent with the
Yeah,
characters.
we had a book, we had 2 movies, and to just do this now out of nowhere makes 0 sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no major fascination between them like that.
No.
You know, Will is the one who captured. Well, it's supposed to be. He's the one who captured Hannibal. That's why Hannibal is even in prison and all that stuff with the Silence of the Lambs and all that. It's the person who caught him. That's what that story was. And then how he kind of goes to him because he was such a brilliant mind, and they had done some work together on catching other criminals. That's why he kind of, it's not even so much a trust thing, it's more like a professional respect thing, why he goes back to him to try to catch the Red Dragon, this crazy serial killer. But yet they're still playing games, and that's the beauty of it. It's that cat and mouse thing too, of who's manipulating who into giving information and whatnot. And every time like Will and the FBI think that they're about to catch the villain, we end up finding out there's more manipulation because of Hannibal and his brilliant mind.
Yep.
You know, so to do all this other shit is kind of getting annoying, to be quite honest, because it's not needed. It's not needed at all.
Yeah. And then okay, so then we see Jack visits Hannibal, and it's just them two, and they have this conversation about like what roles Jack, Hannibal, and Will and Dollarhide kind of play it in a biblical sense, and they're referencing God, the devil, the great red dragon, and then and Hannibal says, unless we forget the lamb, and he said, he says that that Will is the lamb, and he says that the lamb is becoming the lion, and he's like he's like, hide us from the wrath of the lamb. His wrath is deadly, and then he quotes from Revelation 6:17, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And Jack answers, I'll still be standing. And Hannibal asks, is your conscience clear? And Jack says, as clear as yours. So that's like, so when he said they're both guilty.
Yeah. And there's confirmation of it.
Yeah.
Jack knows what he's doing because he knows he needed Will in order to catch this other horrific monster.
Yep.
Because he's not a regular psychopath killer. This guy is super delusional on every level, and he's doing some very horrific stuff.
Yep.
He needs a proper profile, and the only way to do it is by getting into the mind of him. So, who's he going to go to?
Yeah. And then and he quotes some more, and he says, well, first he says righteousness is what Jack and Will have in common, and then he says, in righteousness the Lamb doth judge and make war against the great red dragon. And Jack says that he's like, he's not the dragon, referencing Dollarhide. You are the devil himself, bound in the pit. And and then Hannibal says, then that makes you God, Jack. And Jack says, yes, it does.
Yeah, that was great.
And Hannibal says, all gods demand sacrifices. I really felt like that was profound right there. I really did.
Yep.
Because he's sacrificing Will. He's sacrificing Will and Will's family.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, and then we see Dollahide uh worshiping the dragon painting, and he's like he's tearing at his back, and like and as he like grabs at his back and tears his flesh, it looks like he's also ripping the picture.
Yeah,
So
like the same claw marks are going into the painting, or
yeah,
a copy of the painting. We know what he did to the real thing.
yeah,
But yeah, and it's like bleeding as well.
yeah. So it's hard to actually tell, is he actually clawing himself or is he ruining the painting? It's interesting, that scene is
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. I like how they did that though. But later we
Hmm.
do see that it was himself because he's got those claw marks on him.
Yeah. Yeah, and but when they put like when they do the scenes, it makes you think
Mhm.
like what's really happening here, and also
Oh
it
yeah.
points to how his identity is that painting.
Hmm.
Um all right, and then Will is
And again, it's to me, it's more of that Evil Dead 2 stuff when he's like, "Yeah, oh, we're fine, we're not crazy." He goes, "Yeah, we're fine." And the mirror grabs him, and he goes, "We just chopped our girlfriend into a million pieces there. Or no,
yeah.
we just decapitated her and buried her. We're fine." You know,
Yep.
it's that same thing. It's the same type of mental delusional breakdown thing.
Yep.
Which
I like it.
yeah, that character's wild. This Red Dragon.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Hmm.
And then Will is in Jack's office, and um talking about using himself as bait again. He's not happy. You can see the contempt he has for Jack. And Alana's there, and she says, "You both were fooled once into believing that you were in control of what was happening. Are you still under that delusion?" And when Will turns to look at her, uh, there are mirror shards over her eyes, and like where the shards would be, like on in her skin, is like like bleeding down.
Yeah.
And this is what Will sees, and he kind of like he turns away, and he kind of like shakes that image out of his
Hmm.
mind, and says he like shrugs that off, and he says, all psychopaths and narcissists, they like to read about themselves.
Hmm.
And so he wants to use Freddie Lowndes, and so the plan is that Will is going to badmouth Dollarhide and Tattle Crime
Hmm.
to lure him. And Alana's like, this feels like a trap. And I think, Dollarhide will feel it's a trap too.
Yeah.
And
And I also think that's why Will, he saw that in her, because like had they done that properly, and she was the one that would help him with the article, um, she would be a victim like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, she says it too, because she's like, okay, so she
Yeah,
proposes that,
she's more savvy to that situation.
yeah,
That's what
and
we
she
need an idiot.
proposes that they use a psychiatrist in order to legitimize what Will is saying.
Hmm.
Like instead, like like how we would talk, lay people would talk about someone who's um mentally deranged,
Hmm.
or a psychopath, but the way that psychologists talk about it is um like more academic. So she thinks that that will lend more credence to the article if a psychiatrist does it. And
Yeah,
he's like, well, are you up to the task? And she's like, no, I'd have to be a fool to do that. And
yeah,
next thing we see is Chilton
yeah.
in
But
visiting Hannibal.
I thought that they did say that we need a real idiot in
No,
order to.
no, what she says is, I would have to be a fool to do that. And the very next thing is we
Is
see Chilton talking to Hannibal.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's like, that's the idiot we're
Oh
using.
yeah, yeah. Because after their scene, then yeah, she confronts him outside the door, like, "We need you."
Yep. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And so Chilton goes to see Hannibal, and he's like bitching him out about like the writing an article for the American Journal of Psychiatry, refuting everything that Chilton has written about in his book,
Yeah.
and
Because
all of
it
that.
makes him look even more retarded.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hannibal tells him that there are some people that have the stuff to be successful. You don't have the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Chilton is like, I'm a best-selling author. The journals only publish your material for freak value,
Mm-hmm.
for the byline. And he says that the attention given to him is being shadowed by Dollarhide. So he's kind of poking at his ego here.
Yeah.
And Chilton gets close to one of the little circles in the glass, and he says that the book is writing itself. And he's like taunting Hannibal with the next book he's going to write. And he says, I think I'll call it The Dragon Slayer. All I need is the ending. And Chilton says that, no. Yeah, Chilton says after Alana's reign, you'll be put in the general like ward, a general pop amongst the other inmates, and he says that the younger inmates will use him, will SA him, and all he'll have left, yeah, and all he'll have left are his writings on the wall. And it's funny that he said it like this, because when we see Silence of the Lambs, all he has are his drawings on the wall.
Yep.
So that was actually awesome writing. And
and like I said though too, I believe this whole thing, he is in that cell. He is in like the cell that we saw Will in, but we're seeing, every time we see Hannibal, we're seeing how he envisions it all in his mind castle.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I really
think so,
don't know,
because the way that they have it, and like I said, there's the scene where he's like reaching up towards the sky to the moonlight and all that. Like there is no skylight in his cell. They wouldn't put a skylight in his cell like that. And even like the double doors, the fancy double doors and all that. Like that's not how any of that is. We've seen it in an entire season of where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I believe all of that is in his head, and that's why like every time they cut back to Dollarhide and him speaking, and they're in his office like that, there's similar things that they're kind of doing with those visuals. They're being more. It's not as dramatic in our face. They're not hand feeding it to us like they did. Because in the other episodes of the other seasons, they went very, very artsy with it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, they're being more subtle about it, and it's just kind of like a matter of fact through the minds of, each of these killers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could be right. I have no idea. I really don't, because I don't know. Well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's not super crucial. I mean, it's not affecting the story at all. It's just, the appearance, because he's very arrogant. Every time that we see him like that, he's over the top arrogant in his cell.
Yeah.
He's the one in charge. Even when they take everything from him, he's still smiling in their face like he's in charge. That's the sociopath narcissist. So it makes sense, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
How they're doing it like that.
Yeah, it's definitely plausible.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he's leaving, he says that he says I've got a personalized copy of my book that I'm leaving for you. And then as he's leaving, we see Alana there in the hallway. Yeah. So yeah, he's being recruited, and now Jack, Will, and Chilton are meeting with Freddie Lowndes, and Chilton thinks that Dollarhide's aversion to the name Tooth Fairy is because of the word fairy, the homosexual implication of the word, and proposes that they actually call him the Tooth Fairy instead of this, that they have stopped referring to him as Tooth Fairy and have started calling him the Red Dragon. And they propose that they go back to calling him the Tooth Fairy, just to like piss him off and lure him out.
Yeah, because they said that's what they want. They want to infuriate him. It's not just get him a little upset. Yeah. They want him in a rage where he's not going to be able to control what he's going to do.
Yeah. Very, very smart idea, not. And so Chilton...
Because here's the other thing. They underestimate how smart he actually is. By the approach that they're taking, they're undermining how smart he truly is because they think he's just like this lunatic, you know, that he's just emotion's gonna make him sloppy.
And it's a very stupid decision, and it's a decision I don't see Jack or Will signing off on in earlier seasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in this room, so Chilton is going into his psychological explanation behind Dollarhide and you know, everything like that. He's on the record for Freddie, and Will, like, as he says something, you know, in psychological terms, Will adds, not only is the Tooth Fairy ugly, he's also impotent. So, like, and that's what I was talking about, how we would say things about someone is so very different from how a psychologist would frame it. But that is like, Will is narrowing down what he's saying, that what he's saying is that he's ugly and impotent, and then Chilton kind of looks at him like, what the hell's the matter with you? And then he carries on and he talks about his sexual deviancies and everything like that. And then Will adds, he's perverted, sadistic, and a sexual failure. He's an animal. And the way that Chilton keeps looking at him is hilarious. Because he's like, it's I don't know. And then
There's even points where he's kind of, he doesn't look like he agrees with them.
But yeah, but he's
like, should we go this far?
But Chilton is trying to say it in a psychological, like, he's in a very academic way, and Will is like saying the most horrible and also basic things.
Yeah, be more blunt.
Yeah, and like how normal people would describe like Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy, you know, how we would describe him, and Chilton's like looking at him like, what the heck? It's funny, and then Chilton goes on to talk about his the driving force behind all of this, and of course says that it's about his mother, because it always is, with these psychopaths, and he says the Tooth Fairy is the product of an incestuous home, and as Chilton says that, oh, I'm sorry, and then he says this is the child of a nightmare, and Will looks at him and he's kind of like taken by that, like as if he didn't consider that. And I just thought that was a really interesting interaction. And then as Will's looking at him, then Jack says, "Hey, we got to get a picture of you," and then he offers for Chilton to be in the picture, and Chilton, the narcissist, of course, he's like, "Yeah, well, I suppose I could put one in for the jacket sleeve," talking about a book. So they take a picture, and Will says, "Make sure you get the fountain so that he knows where to find this place," and everything like that. So that's that. And then next we see Dollarhide is driving, and on the passenger seat is a copy of the Tattle Crime with that article in it next to him. And then we see Jack and Will outside walking the grounds of the hotel, and Jack is like, "This whole thing, I don't know, this feels too passive. You know, it's like he says that they're playing games in the dark." And Will says, "If Dollarhide thinks that he can stop, we can help him stop." And Jack tells him, "Oh, you know, okay, go for a walk around 8 p.m. I'm going to have snipers on the roofs, and you're going to have body armor on, all this stuff." And Will says, like, that's going to be useless because Dollarhide goes for the headshot. And then following up with that,
what did they say, like 8 out of 11 or something? We're all headshots?
Something like that,
yeah. Like the odds were way higher, and of his approach to taking out.
He always goes for the headshot with his kills, and and then so we see Chilton And right after he says he goes for the headshot, we see Chilton walking out with like, I suspect they're bodyguards. I don't know who they are, but they look like bodyguards to me. And
Yeah,
he
they're
gets,
they're either that or like agents that were assigned to him to kind of keep him safe.
yeah, yes, something like that. Whatever they are, and he's talking on his phone, so he's unaware of his surroundings, and he gets in the car SUV or whatever it is, and the two guys walk towards the back of the truck, and we are looking at it so that Dollarhide is facing us on the phone, and the two
No, not Dollarhide. Chilton. We're saying
Chilton.
Chilton, like Chilton, just like he's a kid who just went into the back seat and he's sitting in the middle,
Yeah,
and we see.
I mixed up the names.
That's okay.
I meant
Well,
Chilton.
yeah. Because yeah, you got the notes and yeah, you're kind of
Yeah,
just letting people know what's going on. But yeah, you see like the window, the back window, and yeah, like basically heads are just like popping.
yeah. And Chilton is absolutely unaware of what's going on because
Oh,
Dollarhide
he's
also uses
oblivious.
a
Yeah,
what's that?
silence. I said, yeah, I see it. Chilton's oblivious because
Yeah,
he's so into the conversation he's having on the phone.
yep, yeah. He's absolutely oblivious to his surroundings, and yeah, doesn't see that the agents, bodyguards, whatever they are, just got headshotted
Yeah,
in outside, and they're in the blood spatters on the back of the SUV. That was a good visual,
yeah, it
and
was.
he's still on the phone, and then next thing we see, he gets taken out of the vehicle, but that's all we see. We don't see like who takes him or anything.
Mhm.
Um, but then we see him. Um,
It looked like a maxi pad on his mouth.
yes, that's exactly what it was. So, we see him with a rag. He's like he's got like a rag in his mouth, gag, whatever, and then yeah, a woman's maxi pad over his eyes, and he's got no shirt on, and then and we see Dollarhide takes the rag out of his mouth, and he's out. Like Chilton's out at this point, and
Yeah,
so
he's like
Dollarhide,
just starting to kind of
yeah,
come awake.
yeah,
That's when he takes the gag out of his mouth, and as he peels the maxi pad off of his eyes, he gives him like the smelling salts, and that
yeah,
snaps him completely awake.
yeah, yeah, and he's like, would you like a blanket? And so he puts a blanket on him, like
Mhm.
weird, and then Chilton's like, oh, my back hurts, and he's like, oh, my skin hurts, and he's like, I feel like I've been burned. Have I been burned? And Dollarhide, we see he has like this like nylon mat face mask that he wears, like it just goes over to his chin. um it's a weird thing. Yeah.
Isn't it the same look they did in Manhunter?
uh
I think he had something like that in
I
Manhunter.
think it is. I think it is the same look.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's got like a kimono on or something, like some kind of like silk
Yeah.
robe.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, he's yeah, so um and he's like he
Chilton's facing away from him. He's not. Yeah. He's
yeah,
like
he's behind him.
Yeah, he's like in this kind of what is it, a wooden wheelchair or something.
Yeah, some kind of chair. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like facing a wall or something as he's having this conversation with him
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, he didn't know what's going on. And then as they pan back, we see that he is like crazy glued to the chair, like his
Yeah.
forearms. Like he's sitting there butt naked, crazy glued to a chair, not
Yeah.
being able to move. As Dollarhide kind of breaks down that lovely article about him.
Yeah, and he asks, he says, you're because Chilton's like, what am I doing here? And Chilton tells him he's atoning,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, do you know who I am? And Chilton's like, no, and I don't want to. And Dollar Hyde says, according to you, I'm a vicious, perverted sexual failure, an animal. And
Hmm.
he says, you know now, don't you? And Chilton says, yes. And Dollar Hyde goes, do you know why? Do you know what I'm doing? Um, and Chilton's like, no. And he goes, why did you lie about me? And Chilton's like, I don't know. But I think I have an opportunity to understand, and that I can make all my readers understand too. And so at this point, he's bargaining for his life,
Hmm.
and Chilton says, because he uses the term man to man, and Chilton, um, yeah, he goes man to man. If you've got an idea, I'm open to it, but I'm really scared, and it's hard for me to have an open mind while I'm scared. And
Hmm.
Dollahide, in his dragon voice says, "Man to man." But I'm not a man. I have become other and more than a man. And as Chilton, if he says, "Do you think God is in attendance here?" And asks him, "Are you praying to him right now?" And Chilton says, "We pray to God mostly when we're scared."
Hmm.
And Dollahide asks, he says, does he ever answer you? And Chilton says no. And he's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. He says like a bunch of times, and tells him that Dollahide tells him that there are so many things that he's going to help him understand. And he starts to turn him, and Chilton goes, I don't want to see your face. And he's got his eyes like pinched closed, and Dollahide says, you will look at me, or I will staple your eyelids to your forehead.
Yeah.
um
Which
and
is,
then,
that's a line exactly from the other movie too.
is it really?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the movie. It's been
Yeah.
so long, I don't remember any of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then uh he so he opens his eye. Chilton opens his eyes, and Dollahide starts to lift that nylon mask thing up, and he gets like to his I think to like his middle nose or something, and
Hmm.
the doorbell rings, and it's Reba, and he goes, if you make a sound, I will kill her. And so he puts him like over in a different spot of the room, and he goes to the door, and he lets Reba in. She has brought him soup, and she's like, I like you, and um
Yeah,
I
yeah. Because they said like, yeah, you haven't been to work. They said you called out sick. He goes, yeah,
yeah,
I have some kind of a flu, and you shouldn't be here. Like
yeah,
almost implying that you'll get sick, but it's more like you shouldn't be here. I'm about to kill this guy.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, making it sound like, oh, I don't want you to get sick, you shouldn't be here. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But he's like
yeah,
quiet and confused too, because it's like from where they left off, like she shouldn't even have popped up. But you could
yeah,
tell that she really loves him. She cares about him.
yeah,
And this scene is great
yeah,
because of, like you said, like her acting is so freaking good. Because she walks into the room, and as they're having this conversation, now we're seeing the cameras kind of like over her shoulder, and we see Chilton on that chair. He's in the room. He didn't just he didn't put him into like a closet into another room altogether. He's literally sitting in the room where they're having this conversation.
yeah. And it's interesting because as they're talking, she looks over, and it's almost like
She knows. She
she
knows
could.
someone's there.
Yeah, and then this is when Chilton realizes that she's blind, because if she were to see him, she'd
Yeah.
freak out.
Yep.
So
Because she looks directly at him like twice.
yeah,
Because she
yeah,
turns over. Because she's like, because we know with her other senses, they're more in tune. Because
yep,
we've already seen in the other episodes too, and it's like, yeah, she could pick up on stuff. So she definitely smells something. There's got to be. Well, I mean, the guy's sitting there naked in a chair, sweating and scared. So I'm sure there's some extra musk in that air.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, because it, yeah, because when Dollahide was in that dark room, just sitting there like
She
silently,
knew.
she knew he was there.
Yep.
Like you can sense, like she could sense that someone else was in the room.
Hmm.
So yeah, but yeah,
And
she doesn't.
as she notices that, because she definitely, because it's the second time, and she's like, okay, I better go then. But yeah, like please
Yep.
feel better type of thing. And you could see fear on her face. Like she played that so well,
Mm-hmm.
so damn well. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good stuff right there.
Yeah. Big time.
And
Yeah.
then
And
Dollarhide,
so
he goes back like as if she didn't even pop up.
yeah.
That's what was really interesting too with his whole character. Is like yeah, as soon as she left, like and then Chilton, he didn't even make mention of her either.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy was like
Um.
collectively shit his pants.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit his
So then
chair.
he starts to show pics of his victims to Chilton, and after like so each slide, so you have like you see like the family or whatever, the person when they're before and then after he kills them, and
Mm-hmm.
each time he does it he says, do you see? And so he says that like a few times, um and Chilton is like, you know um then and then they get to the slide of him and Will, which is implied that that's the before photo, and he's like, please no. And
And that
Doll
fountain, we could see that fountain.
yep, yep. And Dollarhide asks him if he's gonna tell him, are you gonna write more lies about me? And so Chilton says that it was Will Graham who told him to do, say those lies and everything. Um and he says, are you going to tell the truth about me now? And he says, be he says, before me you are a slug in the sun, you're privy to a great becoming, but you recognize nothing. And he takes off his mask in front of Chilton's face, and you can see the fear on Chilton as he does that. And then he says, fear is not what you owe me awe. And he drops his robe, and he's in front of the projector light, and we see the tattoo of the dragon on his back,
Yep.
Lake's dragon. And that's, I think that's a lot like the movie, but wasn't it Hannibal that was there when?
No, no, it was a different character, but it wasn't Hannibal.
Okay, because let me show you a scene. Um, let me see.
Yeah. Oh, in the movie, the two of them never meet.
Okay, so I wonder. All right, so yeah, tell me who this is then. Let me see if I can find it.
Fat blonde guy.
Um,
It'll be a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, you want to know who it is that he has instead of Chilton?
yeah, so the scene I'm talking about.
Yeah, that he shows the red the dragon tattoo in front
Yeah,
of the projector.
who is that?
That's Freddie Lounds.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. He takes the Tadler writer. That's who he takes instead of Will.
okay.
Yeah, because the Tadler, they're the ones who are spreading this stuff and attacking him like that. And yeah, so he that's the one that he grabs and he does that too.
Okay.
That's
All
why I
right.
said it was interesting in the other season that they pulled that and they made it look like it was Freddie Lounds' body. Then we found out that was just another corpse that they did, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then they made her live or whatever. But yeah, that character, yeah, that's yeah, the true thing it's supposed to happen is supposed to happen to that character.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, that was weird. I thought that was. I saw a picture of that, and I was like, "Is that Hannibal?" So no, I guess not.
Nope.
All right. And so next we see is so Hannibal's handing him some ice, and he's like, "This is for your journey home." But before that, we should tape for a little while, and so he has him repeat something, and as he's recording him, and then and we don't see what he has him say until a little bit after, but
Yeah.
um
But
but then
we see the aftermath when he's all done, and he compliments him. You did a very good job.
he's just like, you did very well. And then the children's like, you gonna let me go now? And he's like, yes, but there's one more thing that I can help you understand. He puts the nylon
Yeah. And he goes,
masks.
I want to understand. Yes, please. Like he's
Yeah,
really trying to suck up to him.
yeah.
And instant
And
regret.
yeah, he starts hissing and he climbs over furniture to get to Chilton, and he bites his lips off.
Yeah, that was
That was
disturbing.
crazy. Well,
Yeah.
we so yeah,
That was very violent for television.
yeah,
Very.
yeah, big
Because
time.
that's like horror movie exorcist level shit. Because he's like, we seeing it, all the flesh getting pulled away, the gums and the teeth all exposed. Like, yeah, it was.
It was on par with when he had eat his own, when Hannibal had Mason eat his own face.
Yeah.
It was
Although
very.
that was more in the dark, but you got a sense of the horror that was there too. Yeah, so,
Hmm.
yeah, same level
Yeah,
for sure. But this I think was lit a little differently, where we could see a whole lot more.
yeah.
I think they try to edit the shit out of it in order to air it on television, because that scene went longer.
Yeah,
You could feel it, and it's like, oh shit.
yeah, yeah. It was very good.
Yeah.
Um, and then so we're at the asylum, and a package comes in for Hannibal, and so he gets it and opens it, and it's a pair of lips, and the note that is accompanied it is, with these he offended me. And Alana's watching him, um because she has brought this package to him herself.
Yeah.
Um and then so the very next thing we see right after that is Hannibal's in his straight jacket, and he's on that upright trolley again. And
Yeah. And
um
Jack's there looking
yep,
at. Well,
yeah.
he's looking at one, not both pairs of lips. There, it's one lip. It's not a top and a bottom. It's just one.
And Jack asks where the other one. He says, "Where's the other one?" And then it shows, uh, like it cuts to Hannibal like sucking the lip into his mouth, and he says, that one can provide you anything that the other one can." And then he's smiling at Alana and Jack, and he says, "I'm sorry. The tragedy of what's happened to Chilton has really put me in a great mood." And um, Jack says Chilton disappeared yesterday.
Mhm.
And Hannibal says, "You pretended to burn Freddie Lowndes in a wheelchair to flesh me out. What were you doing with Chilton?" And Jack tells him about the profile piece that they did on Dollhide. Alana says, "We wanted to enrage him." And Hannibal says, "Congratulations."
You succeeded.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh, Alana did say that when Jack asked about the other lip where it was, and she goes, "Well, we had to until Hannibal actually indulges himself on."
and he turns to Alana and says, "You could have provided anything Chilton provided. That
Mhm.
could have been your lip I was tasting
Again.
again."
Yeah.
And she says, "You publicly refuted him. You orchestrated his end by proxy." And
Yeah.
he says, "You orchestrated his end, Alana. You saw the roll, you saw the hole and let him roll right into it.
Yeah.
That's professional discourtesy."
Now, as great as the scene is, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job with that, but they would have gone through everything before they gave it to him.
I know. I know.
That's
That
the
was,
only thing that I'm like, but for that scene, it worked because you wanted to see something like that with him,
yep.
because that's he was hungering for, what he does. So he was given a gift, and he was more than happy to accept it, almost
Mm-hmm.
like it was like a piece of sushi or something.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
like, yeah, but again, it's good. The writing's great. His acting is always fantastic. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, these scenes are nuts.
Yeah. and then and I like how he calls Alana out on um how Alana's trying to say that you did this, and it's like no,
No.
actually they're all guilty,
Yeah.
you know, and
Jack, her, and Will for sure because we all know. Yeah, he was the patsy.
yeah, and then Jack, Will, and Alana are watching the tape that Dollarhide made of Chilton, and we see everything he had him say, and it's this like well, I'll just say it. So on the tape, he says, I've had a great privilege. I've seen with wonder and awe the strength of the great red dragon. All that I said was lies from Will Graham. I have blasphemed against the dragon. Even so, the dragon is merciful. Because I was forced to lie, he will be more merciful to me than to you, Will Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Reach behind you and feel the small knobs on the top of your pelvis. Feel your spine between them. That is a precise spot where the dragon will snap your spine. There is much more for you to dread. From my own lips, you will learn a little more to dread. And then we see the video from behind, like we're seeing Dollarhide from behind tearing his lips off. And as Will's watching that, and we hear Chilton screaming, Will gets like physically like just horrified by it, and he kind of like falls to his knees and he holds his ears like he wants to block it all out. And yeah, it's intense.
The guilt is hitting him so hard.
Yeah, like it's just horrific all around.
Yeah.
And then he's having a session with Bedelia, and she asks if he wants to talk about what happened to Chilton, and he says that the divine punishment of the sinner mirrors the sin being punished. So basically, it's Old Testament justice, eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
He lied about him, so he loses. I figured it'd be a tongue, but it took his lips.
Yeah.
And she mentions that
Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah. And she mentions that Will put his hand on Chilton in the photo, mm-hmm. and she suggests that he wanted to put him at risk, and he's kind of like I don't know, I wonder, and
the hand was like he put a hand on a pet,
like you put on a pet, yeah. And she's like, she's like, well, are you surprised by the outcome? And he's like, I can't say I'm surprised that this happened to Chilton. And she's like, what were you expecting? And yeah, so she in this whole conversation, she in no uncertain terms at all tells him that he's responsible. Because she tells him that what he did was participation. And I just find this so hypocritical that she can sit there and say, well, you participated in this and now this, when we know what she did with Hannibal in Florence.
Yep. And so then as she's continuing to ride off that fame of the survivor of Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, like they all want to say that Will is like a monster and everything for what he does. He's the only one who doesn't get any fame, money, or any higher station in life for helping the FBI catch these guys.
Right.
But they're all yeah, he's actually a victim in all this.
Yeah.
And but they want to say that he's a monster too.
Yeah.
No,
not at all. And that's what I felt was weird too, because it's like, I'm sorry, Gillian Anderson doesn't even belong in the season. Like, from what happened in Italy, if you wanted to have that moment where she's, bullshitting in front of that, having that speech, and Will encounters her just so we could see where she's at and how she is a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. Like, that is where I think it should have left. I don't think they should have added her anymore to this season.
Yeah, they should have had him do away with her in Florence.
Yep.
And like when you mentioned him having her bag on the train, that's where they should have went with it.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect.
I think that's ultimately what they wanted to do, and then they decided, no, we'll keep her because we like her.
Yeah, I mean, well, because she is an awesome.
She's a great actor. And,
yeah. Yeah.
I could see why you would want to do it, but I think it was a bad decision. Yeah,
For the show, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because like we were saying, when he has that bag, that means she's dead. That's how
Mhm.
you, if you're gonna write it properly, that's where you leave that.
Yes, because that is how the writing in the show was going. Like you would see these little kind of tidbits like, oh, that's Bedelia's bag, something you noticed that I didn't even notice.
Hmm.
That would have been where, we see the bag and then we would have been like, okay, so she ends up dead.
Yeah.
Like they would throw us those little bones,
Yep.
you know?
That's the subtle approach. That's the best
Yeah.
way of doing it.
Yeah.
Instead of, because I mean, like when you hand feed an audience, and it becomes a little bit insulting at times, because it's like, yeah, we know that, we don't. It's like when they just show like something that happened in a movie, and then 30 seconds later or 5 minutes later, they refer to that same scene that we just saw. I was like, no, we got it. You don't have to hand feed us everything,
Yeah.
because it's like
Yeah.
it takes away from everything. It's like, okay, yeah, we got it. Like we continue the story.
Hmm.
But yeah, she's kind of unnecessary at this point, and that's what I feel like they didn't know what they were doing regarding that, keeping her on, because these scenes with Will really make no sense,
Yeah.
and it becomes like they're just like almost poking fun at the character, like punishing him even further.
Yeah, it's kind of like a humiliation ritual.
Yep.
All right, and so the next thing we see, like right after this conversation where she's telling him, like, you may as well have lit the match yourself, it cuts to a scene of Chilton in the wheelchair on flames, like his face is on flame, like
Mhm.
in flames, and
He's doing his best interpretation of Ghost Rider.
and yeah, basically, that's a
And
good point.
and where is he rolling to? The fountain.
Yeah, yeah,
Which was great. I loved it because it's
yep,
like, okay, because that's the scene that we were initially supposed to have. That's ultimately like what happens to Freddy. It's like, yeah, that's the one who's in the wheelchair that gets rolled out like that, and it makes a sudden stop. But I do like how they did it, where like he hits the fountain and then his body goes flying, like he gets unpeeled from the chair and goes flying into the water.
yeah. It is funny. It is kind of like they do have some comedic points in this in like the last half of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Um but all right, and so the next we see is Will and Jack go see Chilton at the hospital, and he's, all of his flesh is burnt and he's in like this tub. It's some kind of therapy thing, whatever, and um Will goes to him and apologizes about it, everything that happened, and Chilton says, you set me up, but he says it without lips, so it kind of sounds funny.
Yeah. And
um
Jack's like, "Did you understand what he's saying?"
yeah. Yeah. um and yeah, he says, you put your hand on me like a pet, but he can't say peas because he has no lips.
Yeah, and when you and you're Hatsy. You're the what? The Hatsy.
Patsy.
And it is funny because like we hate that character so much anyway.
Yeah, he's absolutely, like, I don't feel any
Yeah,
sadness about what happened to him.
no,
Like
it's
you
hilarious.
you put your hand on me like a tet.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's funny as hell. And
Oh, shit.
and then he's, Will's like, well, do you remember anything? And what did you see? And he tells him about how he saw Reba in that. Well, actually, he says there was a black woman who was blind, and Jack says Reba. He said her name on the phone when he called Hannibal,
Mm-hmm.
and then it cuts to Reba in a van, in Dollarhide's van.
Tied
She's
up. Yeah.
tied up, got a rag in her mouth, and um, Dollarhide's driving, and he brings her to his house, and gets her in, and then gets her to like a bed or whatever, and says, I'll untie you if you agree to be good." And she agrees, and
But
as he
I do like they made that point as he's bringing her in, because it's almost like they're mirroring when he first picked her up and brought her to the bedroom.
yeah,
But as they're going from his van into the house, They pass by his clock. They pass by the flowers that's sitting on like one of the desks or something there, whatever. Like she recognizes them because then when he puts her onto the bed and everything, he goes, if you behave, I'll untie you. And she's like nods her head and he goes, you know where you are. And she knows
Yeah.
exactly. And she said, yeah, we're in your house or whatever. Like I like that they made those points because that's how she gets around. That's how most blind people would. They count the steps. There's certain sounds or smells that they're going to associate with or remember. So like that was really good. I like how they did that.
Yep. And as he ungags her, she starts she starts bargaining for her life. She's like, we can forget about us, forget about all this. Let's just be friends and everything like that. And as she's talking, he tells her to shut up, and he tells her that two families have been changed, and he talks about the Leeds and the Jacobys, and he says that the police think that they've been murdered, and he's asking her like if she knows about any of this, and at first she's like she doesn't know what he's talking about, and so he goes on, and when he says Jacobys and Leeds, then she knows because she's heard it on the news, and he asks, do you know what they call the being that visited those people? And she starts to say the tooth fairy, and as she gets to tooth fairy, he puts his hand like up and stops her, and he says, think, and grabs her face.
Say the right answer.
Yeah.
That was good. That was intimidating as shit too.
And she says it's dragon something, red dragon. And then he looms over her, and he says, I am the dragon. And then he steps back away from her, and we see the dragon wings come out, and that's the way the episode ends.
Yeah, that was some powerful stuff right there.
Yep. Poor Reba. What's gonna happen to Reba?
It's the last episode coming up, but
yeah,
in the movie, there is something kind of specific that happens. But yeah, okay, because the guy's losing his marbles. He knows it's about the end for him. But it's
yeah.
Well, I mean, the big thing in the movie is when he goes after Will's family, it's not where they did it in the series. It kind of happens at the end. So, but yeah, it's interesting how they did this. But well, at least from what I remember, it's been a minute since I saw it too. But yeah, no, this is good. Like the cliffhanger on this was excellent. And we just got one more to go.
Yes.
So, see, I thought that they had wrapped up the Red Dragon thing at the end of this episode. I thought the last episode was strictly like something else. Like again, because we're not there yet. But yeah, I forgot completely that they'd still bled into the very final episode. Yeah, so I thought the wrap up was already happening.
Yeah, if I feel like it's not gonna feel
satisfying. Like,
yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know.
I remember the final scene. That's why I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Yeah, the final scene of the season I do remember, and I'm like, they needed more here.
Yeah, see, I don't remember it at all. So, and I won't look ahead.
Yep. Well, it was just one to go. So.
Yeah.
But it's going to be good. Yeah, next week's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, these episodes, these two were jam packed with stuff.
Yeah, because there was stuff you were saying on 11. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't that 12? And it's like, nope, 12 still had a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. They're really like cramming it all in. I feel like maybe they should have started with the Red Dragon stuff a little earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they wanted to play out a little bit and I guess tie some stuff to his origin there, the Hannibal Rising.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wanted to really kind of showcase that a bit because the Asian broad, she's in it for a hot minute
Yep.
on that first whole section.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and then like when we get the time jump is when we get all the Red Dragon stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
they did a really good job. They got very close to what it's supposed to be, regarding like the other film and all that. So I was okay with it, but it's like my major gripes were basically the Bedelia scenes because she's the one that was implying certain stuff, and even the Freddy
Yeah.
Lounge shit. Like that's the character it's supposed to be, gone through what Chilton went through.
And I can actually forgive Freddie Lowndes for writing and saying the stuff she does because she is all about the um headline, the
Yeah.
sensationalism. So and she doesn't like Will. So I can
Mhm.
understand why she would say, you know,
Like
stuff
those
like
cheap shots. Yeah.
you cheap shots against Will, yeah,
Hmm.
stuff like that. And
The
but
murder husbands, all that crap. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like
I
it makes
actually thought
sense.
that was funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Because yeah, I mean, you have the certain implications in there, but at the same time, that's how she viewed them to begin with the Abigail situation.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
makes sense to the context of the character and the story part. When you
yeah,
have Bedelia coming out of left field, like you're gay for each other, kind of like it's like what? Oh, jeez.
yeah. It's like, yeah. Well,
You're supposed to be in a suitcase, bitch.
we've beaten that horse to death, but yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, Bedelia is kind of she's absolutely not necessary after Florence at
Nope.
all,
Nope.
not
Like I
at
said,
all.
she should have been part of that suitcase.
Yeah, she should have been. She should have not ever left Florence ever again.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Nope.
but
Or
yeah,
they had two opportunities to give her an out. Because the other one
yeah,
is too like when they left with the bad police who captured Will and Hannibal, the ones who took the money.
yep,
Because he's like, yeah, listen, we don't want you, we want him. So if you want to say that you're crazy or you really are, I don't care at this point. We just want him and we want that money. So you could disappear, do whatever you want, and we're the heroes who saved you, or you could go down with them. Make your
mm-hmm,
call. Okay, so you have an out like that, and you have the other out where she doesn't make it when he does that kill on that one dude.
yep,
That she was ready to walk out, and he stops her. Basically, it's like, nope, I'm having a meal. You're gonna join me.
yep,
So,
yep, absolutely, I agree.
because with how all that remorse she was feeling and guilt over being there and being stuck in the middle of all that shit, it doesn't make any sense for her to have continued and all that. And now
Mm-hmm.
that Will's seeing her, it's like, what? No, Will wouldn't see her, especially with the last kind of jabs that they gave each other when he calls her out on the bullshit.
Yeah,
And then it was basically with the last cheap shot he gives her, she goes, well, if you want to talk any further, you got to make an appointment, kind of thing. Like that's her last like neg back at him, and then they could part ways.
yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. Like it's not believable.
Nope.
Everything that like that they're doing with her because
Mm-hmm.
after she's supposed okay, so the story that she's going with is that she was under the yoke of Hannibal and
Mm-hmm.
like she lost herself and all this stuff. Okay, if we're going with that, if we're going with that, then well, I feel like she's pretty unqualified to then be treating patients.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
but
She would be like on a book tour promoting her time with Hannibal kind of
yeah,
thing. She wouldn't even be treating anybody else.
yeah, like yeah, exactly. It's
Because
like
it was about her survival and her fame that she kind of wanted.
yeah, and and yeah, so it's just not believable. And then the contempt that Will has towards her,
Hmm.
and now he's having therapy with her.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. But and they made him like a weaker character again too. Like
Yes.
he is being swayed, but no, he's not. And especially in the main story too, or in the movie, he is literally the guy who catches Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
he's not swayed by him or whatever, but he knows his brilliance, and that's why he goes back to him.
Yep.
Jack Crawford goes to him and like, listen, we need your help. You're the only person he's even willing to talk to. You've worked with him before. Could you help us, kind of thing? And they have to really put the pressure on him, and then Will finally decides, fine, I'll do it. If it means saving lives, and like he looks at his family, he's like, okay, I'll come help. And then he kind of gets put into a dangerous situation because of Hannibal is still manipulating and playing games. There is no bromance thing shit that they dragged out and tried to turn into whatever nonsense they were doing in these last episodes. Like, no. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. Because the writing is so good. The story that's there and the retelling of the Red Dragon and all that, it's excellent. But after those 5 years, Will is on a completely different path. He would not be swayed again. It's almost like, again, assaulting to what he was doing previously and the growth that he had from everything else.
Yeah, he says I won't be the same when I come back, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be a simpering fool for Hannibal.
No, all it means is like that his connection to the Tooth Fairy is going. It's possibly going to make him start thinking dark again, which he didn't want to do. And that's what she's like. Well, I'm there for you. Like, I'm still here for you. Don't worry. Like, I'm not going to change. It's like if something happens, no big deal. We'll work it out together, like we've already done.
Yeah,
because she's literally his rock that brought him back from that place of madness and all that.
Yeah.
So stop insulting the viewers. Stop trying to push your personal shit that you wanted to put into the writing and all that. It's not there. It's not existent. Because I'm telling you, these last few episodes, when it's coming to that situation, it feels like fanfic. It doesn't feel like the cohesive story that we've had in the first 2.5 seasons. That's my only gripe.
Yep, me too. Yep, the writing definitely declined. Well, it's like on one hand, the writing is still good because I love, the Red Dragon, all that stuff is awesome. But on the other hand, what they're doing with characters is very questionable. Yep. Like all of them, all of the characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but at any rate, so yeah, we beat that horse to death, and so that wraps up 11 and 12 for tonight, and we will be back same time next week to close out the series.
I can't believe it. Yeah, we flew through these.
Yeah, it has felt like it has just absolutely flown by, and
it felt like we just watched the first season like a week ago.
It does to me too. It really
and granted, even from where this started and to where we're at, it feels like they're 2 different seasons.
Yep.
So like it's pretty solid. I gotta say too, the thorough notes that you take week to week, if I haven't said before, are truly amazing.
Thank you.
If you weren't this thorough with everything, I don't think it would have been as solid. I mean, we would have still had fun, but I mean, you did a killer job with this.
Oh, so thank you so much.
I applaud you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I really try to take very thorough notes so that we're here to rehash the show. So if I forget something, then I haven't properly, I won't be able to properly go through the show.
Oh yeah. It's because of you why I made sure that I think after I did my first review of Arcane, I'm like, no, I need to take notes like Trina. And and you saw her throw. I at the end I was even grabbing screenshots of all the moments.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
Yeah, I'm a little psycho with it, but it was well worth it because I wanted to also slap the naysayers in the face with their bullshit because like that show was phenomenal. That's one. That is a perfect 10 out of 10.
That was a wicked fun show to watch.
Yeah, storytelling like that, character development, growth, all of it. I'm like, I need to pull out the Trina card here, and I need to be as thorough as possible.
Oh man, well, thank you so much. That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Oh, you definitely deserve it. Definitely.
All right. Well, yeah. Tell everybody what you got going on.
Yeah. Well, I got City of Venus too. It's I'm getting a lot more work done with it. The pencils and inks, like I'm literally like on the last 7 pages. It's inching closer. It's uh, again a lot of work at the same time. Like things before I get to the coloring, I might have to take a little bit of time because yeah, it's some other things are going on personally. So,
Mhm.
but I am still working very hard on it. Any free time I get is all devoted to this. Because yeah, I want to make sure you guys get like one of the best comic books out there. Because yeah, I don't see quality like this in the mainstream anymore. I really don't. I pick up things from time to time, and yeah, there are a handful of good books or decent things, but with the level of detail that I'm putting in, uh, I'm I'm getting very meticulous with all of this stuff because I'm very very proud of the work that I'm doing on it. Some of the best I think I've done. Trina has seen a few of my pages and some of the detailing that I'm putting in there, and yeah, big moments. I want to make sure
Yep.
this story is going to go someplace good too, and um, yeah, because everyone's like, oh, the first one was great, but it was too short. So like this is double the size, and
Mm.
yeah, so it's it's almost taken the double the time, but again, it's just me. But Saturday I am doing a comic book signing for Free Comic Book Day. So
Oh,
if
cool.
yeah, so anyone who, again, and this is all over the United States. If you got a comic shop near you, on the third, I believe this is the third. Let me double check here. Yes, it's the third. That's Free Comic Book Day. So, for those who are unaware, go to any comic shop, and they're going to have a list of books, and they're going to be kind of numbered, and you get to choose. I think it's like 5 books you can get or something. So, yeah, you look at the wall of stuff that they have available, you write it down. Oh, I want number 2 over there. That's a Marvel book with Spider-Man. Give me a number 18. That's a Dark Horse book, or that's a Conan book. Pick your 5, and yeah, you'll basically getting free books. So yeah, so head on out there. I'm going to be in Davie. Past, Present, and Future is the name of the comic shop, and yeah, I'll be doing a little signing there while they're giving away and doing their big sale for Free Comic Book Day. So come pick up some prints, books, and original artwork from me. Um, I'm
Yeah.
I'm praying that my print comes in time. There was a little bit of a delay, but they said it's in the mail, so I hope I get it before Saturday because uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Definitely bring as much work as you can with you.
yeah well I have an arcane piece, the blue pen, the pen drawing I did of Jinx and Aisha,
Mm-hmm.
little girl. I have the last 2 shows I went to. They're like, "Oh, do you have a print of this? You have it's not even colored, but I didn't have time to paint it. But everyone wants one, so I got that made up. So hopefully it gets here in time. But
Nice.
regardless, I still have a bunch of stuff to sell. So if you guys want to be down there, go check it out if you're in the area.
All right. Well, that's very cool. Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Definitely. Vince, give me a number 2. God damn it!
And tomorrow night on Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collectors channel, and also your channel,
That's right.
uh, we have Collectible Past, where we talk about action figures and all kinds of awesome stuff from the past. Um,
Yes. Oh, actually, I'm gonna have something cool to show as well. From I went to that. There's a local toy store I haven't been to in a while over here, and apparently they got a whole bunch of stuff in. The last time I went was, I don't know, like 6 months ago. It was kind of bare bones. This store is pretty packed now. So it was the guy's personal collection. Then he started getting a lot more current things in there. So I filmed some stuff,
oh,
and
cool.
yeah, the guy had he had some old Star Wars stuff, and he had the GI Joe aircraft carrier. So I
Oh, wow.
recorded. I asked him, "Can I record?" Oh yeah, go for it. That thing is 6 feet. It's
Wow.
huge. Yeah, I was like, "What?" He had, I think, 3 or 4 full size planes on it from the 3 3/4 GI Joe figures. I was like, "Holy shit!" So
Mm,
pretty
yeah.
cool, pretty cool. And I know they're doing a sale or something on May the 4th, so on the Sunday. So I told the guys I might stop by just to say hi, but yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome. And Millinus says that he has to work tomorrow, or he was going to watch it. So that's okay. Understandable manliness. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next toy stream. And those are at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on his channel is Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective. It also simulcasts on Vinny Art's channel here on YouTube. So you can catch it on both. But yeah,
and on my Twitter. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if even if you click on there, because we usually have the links anyway. So if you want to watch on Tommy's, you can click through there as well.
Yeah, that's
easier
right.
way of finding everything. And yeah, the link tree, we dropped it out there in the chat. So yeah, just click on there and it'll take you to all the fun stuff.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Anybody who watched on the replay, thank you as well. And Vinny, thank you as always for being here with me.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, next week, same time. Everybody have a great night, great rest of your week. We will see you next Wednesday.
Bon appetit. Manja manja.